in HMT. I was in Patna showroom. And in North India, during wedding season, part of the dowry or whatever you call it was either an HMT Kanchan or an HMT Sona watch. These two watches were gold-plated watches, not gold watches by the way. But it was part of dowry in North India. And while I was sitting in the Patna showroom, this gentleman in his 50s came, a rural person from a rural village somewhere near Patna, and came and asked in our HMT showroom. And showrooms are not very jazzy like you see today. They were all dull kind of shops basically. But they were showrooms. And this person came and asked for a Sona watch, Sona was not available. Asked for a Kanchan watch, Kanchan was not available. And he almost fainted because he was wondering how to go back. Will the wedding take place without a Sona or a Kanchan? That was how India was. That was how India was those days. Because shortage. Nothing was available. Right? Our manager in Patna called every HMT showroom in the country, but everywhere the same problem was there. Kanchan was not available, Sona was not available. Put yourself in the shoes today. Put yourself today, look how the situation is. Do you care if there is a Kanchan is not available or Sona is not available? You just walk across to, I don't know which is the main shopping area here. You get 100 watches to choose from, which you can choose and give it as dowry or whatever you want to give it as. You don't have to sit there and cry that I'm not getting a Sona or a Kanchan watch. That's the difference. We've all become slaves of brands. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to be brand conscious or not, we have been overtaken by brands today. Let's take today as an example. This morning I got up and brushed my teeth with a Dabur toothpaste, Dabur brand. I used a Colgate toothbrush. I particularly, Dabur you can read it on the toothpaste, but the brush I had to see it like this to find out which brush I was actually using. Again another brand. Today of course I didn't have cornflakes and noodles, but at home generally with my toast I have Kellogg's cornflakes and Maggi noodles sometimes. Two big brands. I'm wearing today an Arrow shirt, a brand. 30 years ago you wouldn't bother which shirt you're wearing. Some cloth and you go to a tailor and he stitches you. My trousers are Louis Philippe. My jacket is P and Raw. My belt is Van Heusen. My socks are from Bata and my shoes are Hush Puppies. Look at the brand on me today, the number of brands on me today. It's convenience. It's not that I'm very, very conscious, I'm not. But if I'm wearing this many brands on my, by the way, a Fossil watch, not HMT. I have HMT watches at home. If I am not being so brand conscious, if I am wearing so much of brands on myself today, that shows how brands have become globalized. And most of these brands that I read out today are global brands. Not just maybe one or two, maybe an Indian brand. Dabur is an Indian brand. But someday Patanjali and Dabur will also become global brands. Right? So how brands have taken over all of us. And I'm sure if you take a random survey and ask people here, at least some 6 global brands each one of you will be having today in some form or the other. That's the way brands have become so very important, especially in globalization. What globalization has done is, it has made all of us inclusive. We all come together today. There is no difference between someone in Kenya, someone in the US, someone in India, someone in Japan. I think that disparity has gone because brands have become global. And what globalization has done is it has brought in a lot of standardization. It has brought a lot of cost efficiencies. It has brought a lot of distribution efficiencies. It has created a great ecosystem where one need not now pine for something. Globalization has brought a product. Today you don't even know which product is developed where that R&D has happened and where it is selling today. In information technology companies where I work like Dell, IBM, Wipro, TI, R&D work is done, system R&D work is done, not just application R&D. System R&D work, the R&D engineer who is working on it doesn't know where the ultimate product is going to come out of. That product can come in the US, that product can come in Europe, that product can come in Africa. But the work goes on over here. There is a company with whom I'm also not involved with, but my friends who quit from Qualcomm and they've joined it. It's a new company started last year in Bangalore. Just about 50, 60 engineers are working there right now. It's very new. They're developing a product. The prototype is almost ready. Where on the dashboard, where on your windscreen, inside the windscreen, just behind your rear view mirror, this device sits. Where there's a camera in front and a camera at the back. The camera in the front tracks how you're driving, whether you're cutting lanes, whether you're going over speed, whether you're driving straight, whether you're going, whether you're going in a steady speed, whether you're allowing people to overtake you in a proper manner. And the camera in the front facing the driver actually captures the mood of the driver, whether he's dozing off. We talk about driverless cars, that's a different issue. Whether he's dozing off, or whether he's talking too much with the person sitting next to him, or listening too loud to the music, which is going to disturb his concentration. So this is a product which is almost ready here in Bangalore. And he wants to market this first in US because that's where the acceptance is going to be there. So he's already finding markets in US. And in India also, he says very soon, he looks at markets like Uber, Ola, these aggregators who tied up with a lot of cars, the truck operators, the fleet operators, the bus operators who do this night journey, especially the night journey buses, Bangalore to Bangalore, Bangalore to Hyderabad and things like that, where drivers can doze off or overspeed or overload. Now this small product with that chip is going to track all this and enhance road safety, and later on probably we also will probably buy it. He says the product is going to be about 1.5 lakh rupees right now. But with economy of scale, it can become much cheaper. And even if you pay 50,000-60,000 rupees, if it's going to help, it won't assure safety. Ultimately, it's the driver who's driving the car. But if it helps reduce accidents to a large extent, about 1.5 lakh people or so, I think, die in this country by road accidents every year, which is very, very high actually. So if it can even reduce that to some extent, it will be quite helpful. So that is what globalization has done today. Globalization has brought big brands into this country. Globalization has made all of us very inclusive. Today, if you want to have a foreign brand, you just have to walk to a showroom and get that foreign brand. All the foreign brands of automobiles are here in this country today, including BMW, Mercedes, and also the fuel-efficient Japanese cars. Whatever is there around the world are available today. In every field, even food. If you go to Indiranagar 100 feet road in Bangalore, or go to Koromangala, you get cuisine. I'm sure you will agree with me. You get cuisine of every country. Vietnamese food, authentic Vietnamese chefs, Thai food, Mexican food, Japanese food, everything available, even in food. And not from chefs who are from this country, who have learned it and who are actually cooking the food for you. Chefs who have come from those countries, authentic food you get. So I'm looking forward to some authentic Mangalore food, in fact, in the next couple of days that I'm going to be here. So everything today, because of globalization, some of these big global brands have made inroads, not just in developed countries, but all other countries as well. And basically, what do these global brands do? They build a strong brand identity in the country they come into. Most of them after 1991 came as joint ventures. IBM also came as a joint venture with the Tatas and then became 100% subsidiary of IBM in this country. So they bring a lot of brand equity, which they have built over a long period of time. Their positioning is very clear. They have a very clear advertising strategy. They build a personality for that brand, for that product, the packaging, and general look and feel. And that's how they make inroads, and that's how and with a lot of processes that are built up. Global companies have built up a lot of processes. They're all very process-oriented companies. You can't bypass certain processes, whatever may be your level, for instance. For instance, if you are talking to the media, the corporate communications head of that organization is ultimate. The managing director to whom this person reports to cannot say that you are my subordinate, I can talk to the media whatever I want. No. The managing director talks what exactly the corporate communications manager briefs her. So processes, these are the processes that have been brought in. Indian companies were not too strong on processes earlier. But the processes that they've been brought in, these global processes, all these have made global brands very strong across the world. So what are some of the characteristics that make successful brands? Dr. Yashoda Verma mentioned a few of them. He said quality, he said communication, you got to inform, otherwise people won't know about your brand. After sales service probably, if it's a product that requires after sales service. That's another important attribute that is required to build a brand. But you need audience knowledge. Without knowing who your audience is, if I'm speaking here today, I got to tailor-make my message to this audience, otherwise this audience will not be interested in what I'm speaking. And today the attention span is so less because there is this phone. I can see many people just checking some quick email or some WhatsApp that is coming in. There's so many things that kind of, olden days you didn't have any of these things, you would listen to a speech. But today there are so many things that suddenly you have to answer something. You have a video coming into your phone, in these smartphones. Oh, by the way, one more thing I forgot was this iPhone that I have. When I described the various brands of mine. And he mentioned about Apple. Coincidentally, it is an iPhone. So you got to know your audience today. The most important thing when you build a brand today is you got to know your audience. Your brand has to be, your product or your company or whatever should be unique. If there is no uniqueness, you lose out in competition. So when you build up your own brand as students, and as you climb your corporate ladder, you got to build your own USP as well. Otherwise you'll become an also-ran as you go along in life. There has to be a passion. In whatever you do, unless you have that passion, you can't build that brand. I've seen a lot of startups people in Bangalore. People who have been my colleagues in IT companies, young people who suddenly somebody either funds them or they themselves get this streak that, how long can I go on working and being in service? It's okay if I fail. See, the new thing today, the new mantra today is in olden days, we could never fail. At least in this country. If you fail, you are an outcast. Whether you're failing in your studies, you're failing in your... there's nothing called layoff in this country till 1991. If you get laid off, and even today, layoff is due to some reason, not because of you did something wrong, you lose your job. It happens in MNCs today. In Texas Instruments, in our own company, 3 years ago, 150 people were laid off, not because they did badly, because TI globally decided not to come out of the digital business, the DSP business that they were in, and concentrate only on analog. So what happened was all the people in DSP, in the digital side, became redundant because they did not have analog skills. Because they were quickly absorbed by the competitors, people like Qualcomm, Intel and others who are in the digital business. But just imagine, before 1991, if you get laid off like this, the whole society will think you've done something wrong. Otherwise, how can you lose a job? They were all womb-to-tomb jobs, as they say. You join one company, you retire in that company. My father joined one company, retired after 37 years in the same company. Many of our parents here would have started in one company and retired in the same company. Whether they would like to work in that company or not, they did not have alternatives, but today there are alternatives. And because there are alternatives, because there is so much of competition, the importance of building a brand becomes very, very important. If you don't build a brand for yourself, let's take cricket for example. Sachin Tendulkar, such a big brand. And before coming to Tendulkar, let me go through some of these points I have. So one is passion, one is consistency. You can't be a one-day kind of a wonder. You've got to consistently perform the quality that Dr. Yashoda Verma said. Your service, the quality, everything that you do has to be consistent. You've got to be competitive, you've got to have the leadership. Your product or your brand has to have relevance. Otherwise, whatever you do, if it's not relevant, it will not become a brand. People should want it. So it has to be relevant and you've got to position that brand properly. Today, market segmentation has got so much sliced that you can position each product, the same product, differently for different age groups, for different demographic groups as well. So all these things, actually, these characteristics make what is a successful brand. So take Tendulkar for example. Why is he such a big brand? Like there are so many other cricketers who also came, who are also going to come in the future. But Tendulkar became, Gavaskar, Tendulkar, they became big brands because, Tendulkar more so because of television as well. Because he kind of ticked off all these things that I said just now. He had a passion for the game. He had a lot of skill, so he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew what batting was, he knew how to bat. Consistency, 24 years, 1989 to 2013. That is the span Sachin Tendulkar played for India. And people still wanted him to play as a player. He was 40 when he retired in 2013. Right? Consistency. He amassed 100 centuries, which nobody else has done. 51 in tests and 49 in one-day internationals, if I remember correctly. I don't know if the numbers are the other way. Over 30,000 runs between test matches and one-day internationals. So that is the performance that he gave. He showed leadership, and more than everything else, at a time when cricket was going through a bad phase of match fixing, spot fixing, corruption, and those scandals are still going on. You know, the mess BCCI is, and we're all seeing it, the Supreme Court has to interfere, they have to appoint a Lodha committee and things like that. Tendulkar never got into any of these things. He was extremely ethical. Another name that comes into my mind, at least so far, is Usain Bolt, who very willingly gave back that medal when one of his partners in the 2008 games, I think, was tested positive after some 8 years or so. He gave back his medal, though it was no fault of his at all. So many times what happens is to do something very fast, and today's people are in a hurry actually, if you ask me. Everything they want things very fast. You know, they don't wait for things to happen. Things don't happen in life that very fast. You got to wait, you got to work for it. But everything people want in a jiffy. No patience. Right? So we all remember a Usain Bolt who does that 100 meters, 200 meters, 200 meters in 19 seconds, 100 meters in 9 seconds. Because it's very glamorous. But you don't look at the effort that Usain Bolt puts in to run that 9 seconds or 9.5 seconds. The entire year he runs and runs and runs and runs. He controls his diet. He sacrifices a lot of things. Take for instance that marathon runner whom we can't even remember the name. Some Ethiopian or Kenyan has won the marathon last year in Rio. To run those 42 kilometers and win, for years and years and years they put in a lot of toil. So life is a marathon actually, it's not a 100 meters dash. That's very, very important, one must keep in mind. A brand, therefore, is also a marathon. An IBM brand was not built in one day. IBM started in 1911. Texas Instruments was started in 1931. Brands are not built in one day. You have to work hard to build a brand. So that's another very important thing. You know, brand looks very glamorous. Brand ambassadors. Well, he spoke about the ambassador car. Today we have ambassador of a different kind, brand ambassadors. And on what basis they become brand ambassadors, I still don't know. But one has to, like a Tendulkar, one has to work very, very hard. Like a Toyota, one has to work very, very hard to build a brand. I'll just take another 5 minutes and give you a few statistics. It was a very nice comparison I was doing between global brands, the top global brands of 2015 and the top global brands of 2016. This is a survey that Interbrand does every year. 2016, Apple, number one. The brand value is $178 billion. That's the power of Apple. And it grew 5%. The brand value grew 5% over 2014. Number two, Google, 133 billion, grew 11%. Number three, Coca-Cola, 73 billion, actually went down by 7%. It dropped. Number four, Microsoft, 72 billion, grew 8% from the previous year. Number five, Toyota, 53 billion, grew 9% over the previous year. Number six, IBM, 52 billion, but fell 19% from the previous year. 7, Samsung, 51 billion, grew 14%. Number 8, Amazon, 50 billion, grew 33%. Number 9, Mercedes-Benz, 43.4 billion, grew 18%. And number 10, General Electric, GE, 43.1 billion, grew 2%. Let me do a quick comparison from 2015. Apple was number 1, 170 billion, then in 2015, grew 43%. So it grew 43% in 2015 over 2014, but grew only 5% in 2016 over 2015. Which means as your base goes higher, your growth comes down. So you've got to put in all the more effort to keep it up. Google, fairly constant, 12% last year versus in 15 versus 11% in 16. Coca-Cola -4, -7, it's dropping. Microsoft +11, +8, again dropped slightly. Toyota +16, +9, dropped again. IBM from -10 to -19 in the negative, dropped. Samsung 0 to 14, sudden surge, probably because of some of the new phones. They really started competing with Apple. They got into a lot of problems. The worst brand for a company is when you get into an aircraft and say don't have a Samsung Note or something like Samsung Note or something Samsung has to do to get that line out of that announcement. It's not good at all for the brand. And to add to it, one of their CEOs or someone has got indicted now in a case and he's convicted as well. Amazon +29 to +33. Amazon has shown an increase. Mercedes has gone out. Mercedes has come in 2016. It was McDonald's in 2015 as -6, and GE from -7 has improved to +2. What do you see in this? The ones that have grown very high, 43%, Apple, right? Facebook, by the way, is at number 5 at 32 billion and has grown 48%. So companies like Facebook, Google, Apple, these are the companies where the brand value is increasing in double digits, high double digits. Very clearly shows that these are the companies now people are looking at for the future. And a Toyota and an IBM and others have to still struggle a lot to keep up among the top 10 or whatever, even for a 1%, 2%, 3% increment in brand equity, in brand value, so much of effort they have to put in. Whereas these nimble companies, that's what technology has brought. Technology has made companies very nimble today. And these are the technology companies, Apple, Google, Facebook, that are growing and growing at a very rapid rate. So branding also depends on what kind of an industry you're in, what kind of technology you're in, and your brand value also goes according to that. So finally, I'll just touch upon two aspects, just 2 more minutes. A lot of brand alliances are happening today globally. 2 big brands are coming together so that the synergy of 2 big brands coming together, bringing their own value to the table, is adding on to the overall brand value. For instance, sometime back IBM joined up with Apple and said the analytics and enterprise scale of computing that IBM has now come into the elegant user experience of the iPhone and the iPad. So IBM technology into Apple's products. Fantastic brand alliances. Right now, Uber and Paytm, because of demonetization, because government wants to go more digital, wants us to go more digital. You want to use Uber cab today, if you have a Paytm app, you just have to transfer your money and then you just sit as if it's your own car, you ride and then you get down and say bye to the driver. You don't pay him anything because it's already deducted, instantaneously deducted. Indian Oil and Citibank credit cards, where if you have an Indian Oil Citibank combined credit card, you get a lot of points and you get a lot of discounts in Indian Oil petrol pumps. So I give 2 Indian examples itself, and there are innumerable global examples where brand alliances are making 2 brands come together and making their equities even more stronger. Finally, before I end, a bit about social media, because social media is something that is included again, like the brands have included our lives. Social media has also included everyone's lives. It gives everybody a voice and an opinion. Today you don't have to be a journalist. You are a journalist yourself. You see the kind of trolls and you see the kind of posts that you get on Facebook, Twitter every day. Global leaders are using social media today. Donald Trump every day is not speaking to the media. He's not even attending the dinner, the traditional dinner for the media, but he's on Twitter every day. Our own Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on Twitter almost every day. So social media today has again come in so much into our lives today that of course it has not spared brand building as well. And there are a lot of but social media is a very powerful tool and can be a dangerous tool if it's not used properly. Because instantaneous communication and suddenly it can go viral. So many things which are not even true can become viral. So I think a lot more responsibility has to come in when you use social media today. But nevertheless, for brand building, which is the subject of today, in a study done in 2016 last year by Bain & Company, the global consultants, out of 3,000 people in different industries that they surveyed, 89% of the respondents said they got increased exposure because of social media, being on social media, their brands being on social media. 75% got increased traffic, that means the number of people who are actually accessing the site. 69% got a lot of more market insight into their particular market, what the market is, how can they expand in the market. 65% said they developed loyal fans, 61% said they generated leads, 54% said they developed great business partnerships, 47% said their marketing cost reduced because you're going less on advertising, you're going less on traditional forms of promotion into social media, 43% improved sales. So that is the next generation now. Brands are going to be now built on social media now. And we are just seeing the beginning of it. 2 years down the line, if you come and address a brand building seminar, probably you talk only about social media probably in that seminar. So that's where we are moving, ladies and gentlemen. And as management students, I think you've got a great career ahead, provided you build a good brand for yourself. It's very, very important. As I said, no competition. When I did my engineering in 1976, only 26 of us. Not many jobs also, but we were happy to get into whatever jobs were on offer. But today you have a choice. Today you have a choice to study wherever you want. Today you have a choice to work wherever you want. India has also become much more mobile. Today it's very easy to travel from one city to the other. India has become global today. A country which still has a fairly high GDP level compared to so many developed countries. And with this young demographic population that we have, 35% or so below the, 50% or so below the age of 30 or 35 that we have a great future, provided we are very conscious and build our brands, build a brand for ourselves, build a brand for our companies, make more Indian brands global, just not Wipro, Infosys and a few of them today, but make more and more Indian brands global, and make India definitely really a big global brand in the years to come. With this, I wish you all the best. I thank the organizers. I thank the organizers for inviting me. Thank you very much, sir. It's a great honor and privilege to be here at this esteemed organization, institution. And I thank all of you, and may God bless you.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us on global brands.